Hey, hello, it's Talking Bollocks, welcome. Yes, we are back. I am back, you are back, we are back. It's Talking Bollocks. Bollocks shall be talked, we shall talk bollocks, I'll talk bollocks, you'll listen to bollocks, and there will be bollocks. Okay, so welcome. If this is your first time, fucking where the fuck have you been? You have missed some cool stuff. Go back, download some stuff. It's great. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Stitcher. And if you're listening, Metal Sucks guys, we were on it before you, so don't give me that. And you've got a YouTube channel now. We beat you to that. Just hello. Hello. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for streaming. Look at how he skillfully avoids saying tuning in, because I've learned my lesson there. Hello, welcome. It's lovely to have you. It's lovely to be in your ears. Hello, it's lovely to be in those ears of yours. I hope you've cleaned them, because I'm going to clean them out for you. As usual, we've got a cracking episode coming up. Lots of bullshit from me, which most of you will probably skip past, fast forward, I would imagine. Don't blame you for those that listen to these segments. Thank you very much for allowing me to verbally wank off into your ears. That's not it. Somebody asked me to describe what the podcast was like the other day, and I basically said, well, it's me shouting at the air for like half an hour and then putting stuff on that people will be interested in. But there you go. Anyway, hello, welcome. I am your host. I am Howard H. Smith, former lead singer. Well, yeah, I suppose still the lead singer, but the band's not doing anything. Of UK thrash band Acid Rain, who did some stuff back in the day. They've had a box set out this year. Stuff seems to be bubbling. I don't know. Yeah, anyway, mainly stand-up for the last 15 years. You can find me as Keith Platt, professional Yorkshireman. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Facebook, you can find Talking Bollocks on Twitter, Facebook. There you go. That is the big ego shout-out. Done. Let's move on. That is enough of me being a twat. So, hello, it's lovely to have you all back here. Feeling so much better than the last time we spoke. Obviously, I was full of cold medicine last time we spoke, fully fucking rocking now. And since I saw you last, spoke to you last, that's just the senile dementia coming in there. I've had a double hernia operation. Have you, Howard? Bloody hell! How did it go? It went very well, thank you very much. I am back, and it's all good. All I have to say, app name of the podcast, Talking Bollocks. After the operation, aching bollocks. I just had to go back, get the old aching bollocks checked. I can assure you that this is not what you tuned in for, is it? I can assure you they're in full working order. For any, I'm not going to go, let's just fucking move on. Look, I'm okay. Yeah, stitched up, side. I literally split my own side. That's how fucking funny I am. That is how good my stand-up is. I split my own fucking sides. Check that shit out. Anyway, all sewn up and back and normal now. That's the main thing. That's nothing to do with rock or metal or anything. That is the main thing that has happened since the last time I spoke to you guys. But anyway, look, moving on with the podcast. First up, a big thank you and shout out to Sophie at Nuclear Blast. She's sorted out a number of really cool interviews. I spoke to Schmier a couple of days ago from Destruction. That's going to be coming up for you as a massive Christmas present, thrash metal present from me to you in December. Thrash metal special. I'm not going to say who else is on there, but let's just say it's somebody else from a thrash band. There you go. But yeah, it's all good. It's looking great. But hey, let's crack on with this month. I don't want to start upselling too much, or front selling, as I believe some people on some podcasts call it. So that was a bit Alan Partridge. That was some people call it. Anyway, yeah, thank you very much, Sophie. I do appreciate it, and I know your day must be full of idiots like me bugging you and stuff like that. So I really do appreciate all of it. I really do, and it was lovely to meet Annie, your sidekick as well. So thank you very much. Now, people are always complaining that, they're not. I just made that up. Some people have mentioned occasionally that I don't take pictures when I do these interviews and post pictures. And I got to be honest, I kind of think, well, most of you know what I look like, and if you don't, fucking Google image it. My entire life is online, so you can find me from when I was a fresh-faced young kid to when I was performing with Suicide Watch and Reanimator last weekend. See how I dropped that in there? We'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, and the people who I'm interviewing, you know what they look like. So what do you fucking need a picture of us together for? I mean, you hear the interview, we're talking. You know it's for real. You know it's them, and I don't know. It just doesn't kind of feel right. But so instead, and I'm going to post this on the Facebook page, although I don't know why I bother because no one seems to fucking go there. But anyway, just for my own sanity, I am going to post a picture of when I interviewed Schmear on the Destruction tour bus a couple of nights ago. I got a picture of the toilet. It was a lovely tour bus, and it's a really nice toilet. So I'm going to post that on there for you, because there you go. I mean, how many podcasts are offering you this kind of exclusive shit? Yeah, pictures of toilets on tour buses. In fact, actually, this is not pre-planned. Shall we do this? Shall I just post a picture of the toilet from every tour bus I get on, and that can be our thing, where other podcasts have, like, pictures of the presenter and the person they've interviewed together, giving it the devil horns. How about just me posting pictures of toilets from tour buses? There you go. That's what I'm going to do. If anyone thinks that's a shit idea, do tell me, and I will make sure to ignore you. Another shout out to and I'm not sure if this is the right pronunciation, but to Gadger of Acid Rain. That's right. The US hip hop band Acid Rain. Gadger, who's the main dude there, has started following us on Twitter, which is really cool. So we tweeted him out a shout out, which he liked, he favorited, he retweeted. We haven't heard back from him, but that's cool, Twitter's not everyone's thing. So that was just really cool. It always makes me laugh, because whenever Acid Rain are on a site where there's YouTube or something like that, or Last FM or something like that, you see Acid Rain hip hop fans coming to it going, "This is bullshit, man. This ain't no fucking hip hop. This is bullshit fucking metal, man." And then you see all the metalers going, "Fuck off, you cunt. Hip hop shit. Go and shoot people, you fucking cunts." And you usually just see this like visceral, just people attacking, shredding each other, and it's quite amusing. But meanwhile, the band's just like, we tweet each other and everything seems cool. So yeah, try not to give them a hard time if you see them around on the net. What else have we got? Oh yeah, Onslaught. Sai from Onslaught, who I know as well as I know anybody in the metal scene, has got some issues with his son who is not well. So the Onslaught US and South American tour, he's actually sitting out, and stepping in is Neil Turbin. Yeah, in case you didn't know any of this, I mean, if you did, obviously you did, but if you didn't, yeah, that's pretty amazing that Sai can't do it, and Sai, if you're listening, which I'm sure he's not, but please, if anybody who knows Sai is listening, give him my best. I have obviously sent him my best myself, but it's really just, it kind of brings everything back down to earth when you hear that shit. So and Neil Turbin, wow, I didn't realise he was still alive. that's a joke. All right, I'm sure it'll be awesome. I mean, he certainly looks the part, fucking hairy chest, the business. I'm drivelling. Sorry, that's rubbish. Anyway, look, I wish him the best of luck. If you go on that tour, if you go on that tour, you're in the band. So hello, I know you. What the fuck? If you go and see that tour, could you just get back to me and let me know what it's like seeing Onslaught with Neil Turbin? It would be really, really cool. You can get hold of me. You can tweet at Talking Bollocks with a Z on the end, or you can email me, howard@allabouttherock.co.uk. You can get hold of me in a myriad of ways, through the Acid Rain Facebook page, through the Talking Bollocks Facebook page, through the YouTube channel, through Twitter, fucking whatever. If you've got hands and a computer, you can get in touch with me. But I'm genuinely interested to know, so it really would be cool to know if you could let us know. What else has been going on? Oh, fucking hell, Machine Head, eh? 2 songs leaked. That can't be good. Yeah, more of those cunts who don't like paying for music weighing in there. I felt sorry for them, but it's to be expected in this day and age, unfortunately. But Rob Flynn has come out and owned it, and quite a cool quote actually recently, which came from him, basically saying he was saying that new metal was starting to sound a little samey. and or rather new metal coming out, not new metal, but new metal. And I tend to agree. My thoughts on this. Production's sounding very samey, and it's a bit, we got to watch ourselves in the metal community here. We have. I like to think that there is that we embrace originality in this wonderful genre of metal. Genre of music. Is there anything else? Genre of metal. But it's there's definitely a bit of some clones coming out there at the moment. But anyway, speaking of how awesome the kind of music that we love and everything is, I have got to tell you now, and I'm going to put a picture. I'll tweet a picture of this, or I'll put it on Facebook or whatever if anybody's fucking interested. I have just walked in my flat tonight, and a T-shirt that I've been waiting for about 3 weeks has finally arrived. Awesome! How fucking... What is it like waiting for a shirt to come through the post that you're really fucking jazzed about getting hold of? And I mean, if any, but that's what we do, isn't it? That's what we do in the metal community. We get ludicrously excited by things like, oh my god, this T-shirt's going to arrive. I'm like a fucking kid at Christmas. And I came in this morning, and literally I've been opening my front door and just opening it slowly, and then listening to see if anything gets stuck between the door and the wall, or if the door's starting to get more difficult to push, because that means something has arrived. And I did it again tonight, and I was like, I heard this squash of plastic bag, and I thought, it's fucking here, yeah! Awesome DRI shirt. It's one of the limited edition ones for the Spike Cassidy benefit. So look, those guys have created so much cool music over the years that's enhanced my life. The least I can do is buy a shirt that goes towards his benefit, and just because he's made a recovery from cancer doesn't mean that he hasn't got massive medical bills. That it's cool to get a really fucking cool shirt and to think you're helping somebody out as well. But it looks fucking awesome. By the way, I've got history here. I haven't just done this. I did buy Dead Kennedys fucking hell, what were they? Drinks mats and T-shirts for the defence fund when they got taken to court all those years ago for the Geiger poster. So. This is awesome. This is just an awesome shirt. I'm so fucking excited. I want the podcast to finish so I can put it on, walk around in it. It's fucking great. And if any of you are thinking out there, that's a bit weird, mate, you really need to sort of grow up and move on. Fuck you, and unsubscribe and don't listen again, please, because this is what it's all about. It's what the whole fucking genre is about. It is about just never ever losing that childlike enthusiasm for music you've liked since you were a kid. And if you are a kid and you're listening to this, don't worry. This is what you've got to look forward to. You're going to end up sounding like a fucking miserable old cunt like I am. Well, not miserable, but you know what I mean. But yeah, that has made my day. That really has, seeing that there. And what else would I want to speak to you about? Oh yeah, I'm not going to make a big deal of this. I mean, a lot of people have spoken about it, but Gene Simmons' quote that rock is dead. Yeah, my response: no, Gene, rock isn't dead, but I wish you were. And I'm just letting that just sit there for a bit, because some people think, oh, a bit harsh. No, I've heard Kiss, not harsh enough. I mean, they are a fucking embarrassment to music, never mind metal. There's no way they should ever be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I do not get what the fucking fuss is about. Yeah, I mean, amazing stage show and all the rest of it. Amazing stage show. So's Rammstein. Two differences. Go and see Rammstein. There is awesome heaviness, immense music, fucking just brilliant. You go and see Kiss, and it's just pure crazy nights. Do me a fucking favour. You put out a disco album. Fuck you. Sorry, I said I was going to make this a little short one on Kiss, but it just gets under my skin. It really does. Oh yeah, here's something else that was mentioned. Michael Sweet of Stryper I read an interview with him where he was saying that he doesn't understand how they can have over 1 million Facebook likes, but still no one's buying the music. And I thought, well, basically, coming from somebody who believes that there's a supreme being that lives in the clouds and actually gives us a shit about us down here and what we do, that's hardly surprising. I mean, it should hardly be surprising that somebody who's devoutly Christian and it can't figure out the difference between Facebook likes and music purchases. I mean, obviously. But I mean, how can anyone be so stupid? Michael, clicking a mouse of the page of a band that you once bought an album of back in the day, and you sort of, it's not a like as in I'm now contractually bound to love everything you've ever done and I want to hear what you're up to now. It means like, yeah, I once liked you, or I once heard a song of yours that was all right. I mean, for fuck's sake. Jesus, I mean, mind you, I'm old, but he's even older. So just shut up, Grandad. It's fucking embarrassing. Now, I tell you what, I'm gonna sort of curtail things here. There's a few other things I want to talk to you guys about, but this isn't a new feature or anything like this, but this is something that is just it is a little different. What you've got coming up now, I had an email from a guy called Paul Flynn, who's an avid bollocker, as we know you guys are now called. And we were just trading emails and about he had this thing about death metal and, well, is Slayer death metal? Why aren't they? And why is that not considered? Why is death metal but Sepultura isn't? And it was really interesting, and he had some like really interesting thoughts on it. So I rang the cunt up. I said, look, right, let's do this. Let's chat, and I'll stick it on the show. And I thought that'd be pretty cool because ultimately, I am interested in what you guys think. It's not just all about me. So let's talk. Let's have a chat. So Paul Ryan, I rang him up, and here's our chat about death metal and metal in general. What a twat I am, honestly. Coming up is my conversation with Paul Flynn. Paul Ryan is somebody else that I know. My apologies, Paul. Of course you're listening because you're going to want to hear how it sounds. You all know what my memory's like. My memory for people's names is fucking terrible. But do you know what the worst part of this is? Paul Flynn is actually on my phone right in front of my beady little stupid fucking eyes. And I still say Paul Ryan. My apologies, Paul Flynn. My apologies. Honestly, what a dick. What a fucking dick. Howard, you are a dick. Everybody say it after 3. 1, 2, 3. Well, you're right. Okay. Paul, of the Flynn variety. Here's our chat coming up right now.
Hello.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, mate. You okay?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Excellent. I guess we're just going to have a natter, really.
Okay, cool, yeah.
I know. The emails that I got from you. You've really got this thing about death metal, haven't you?
No, it was. My big thing probably was thrash metal back in the day and stuff, and still is, to be honest. But I always had this thing about when death metal sort of, reared its head, and with the involvement of sort of all the arise of like napalm death and death. I always thought, weren't Slayer doing this already? So yeah, that was the sort of the question I posed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny you should say that, because personally, I see Rain in Blood as a really sort of, I don't know, for me it's probably the most punk thrash metal album there is.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it seems to have had a big impact on death metal as well. And it's not something I'd thought that much about until you sort of posed the question, and then I kind of started going back through it, and I don't know, as you probably know, in the last sort of few podcasts I did mention about death and about, I had I got their albums, we were on the same label, and I thought they were great, but I wasn't aware of this death metal. I was just aware of death. and then and then I heard Obituary and didn't think all that much of it. But then there's a lot of people who say, well, actually, it's Venom who were the first death metal band.
That's what I was going to mention, actually. Yeah, because even I wouldn't say Motorhead were anywhere near death metal, but that sort of progression from Motorhead then into Venom and then into Slayer, and listening to like even the early Slayer stuff like on Show No Mercy, that some of that's pretty heavy as well, isn't it? But you're right, Venom seemed to be the one that sparked that, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, we're all when you think of Slayer, we're all apt to forget Show No Mercy, which is essentially Iron Maiden on, speed it up. Yeah, I mean, there is some real cheesy, metal going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hell Awaits is more of a death metal album than Rain in Blood. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I probably agree with that. Yeah, I love Hell Awaits as well. Yeah.
I do. I mean, I love them both for different reasons, and then I get it's because it's before Slayer really sort of. That Rain in Blood is when they kind of found their modern, like, the sound that they still have today, and then it was kind of sort of, some would say perfected, some would say not as well on South of Heaven, and then Seasons in the Abyss is when it really kind of just all sort of came together.
Yeah, you see, I love South of Heaven, even though it's much slower in pace than Rain in Blood. I think the song structures are really, really there, but you're right. And then by Seasons in the Abyss, they put it all together and just have their definitive sound, then, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I do like South of Heaven, but I do think it's a bit weak. There's a Judas Priest cover on there, and it has its moments, but I think, and it's definitely the sound of Slayer. Probably, doing something they haven't done since, which is changing slightly. Do you know what I mean? The stuff like Behind the Crooked Cross and stuff like that is was unimaginable almost like 2 albums ago.
Yeah.
But we're getting hooked up on we're getting hung up on Slayer here. So death metal wise, are you a fan? Are you a fan of death metal?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Opeth, which I know came a little bit later on, and those growling sounds really probably define it. But that was the other part of my question, really.
Hang on. Just let me stop you there for a second. Opeth, aren't they that 70s prog revival band?
That's what they seem to have turned into now, don't they, with their latest album, yeah?
It's, I mean, I've heard like bits and pieces, and I'm massively unimpressed. But that's just me. But it just seems such a weird fucking direction to go in.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I must admit, because when their early stuff, their really early stuff, where they're just belting out, and they're pretty much again another extension of maybe that thrash early death thing with lots of growling, and then they really hit their mark. And there's an album called Deliverance, which is really heavy as fuck, in terms of listening to that. But yeah, then they progressed on with Ghost Reveries, great stuff. But the last album before this one, Heritage, they just stopped all the heavy stuff completely by the looks of it. But the new one, I agree with it. It does sound like 70s, prog, folk almost. And I don't know why it took that direction.
It is very, very strange. As is the weird sound that's developed on this phone call. There's a weird clicking sound, but don't worry. It's fucking odd. You probably can't hear it at your end, but it's
no,
it's weird. No. Well, I'll just have to apologise to everybody before we do this.
You probably haven't put a 50 pence in the meter.
Hey, fuck off, you cheeky cunt. Right. Sorry, I was kind of like. I was kind of in shock at you mentioning Opeth there. So what was your gateway into? What do you think is what was your personal gateway into death metal?
Probably going back to, although I know they get called grindcore, and we were talking about genres the other day. Probably Death and Napalm Death, Scum.
Right.
So it would have been that way into Carcass and things like that at the time. So it was that's pretty much the way I got in. Although, interestingly, I think it's going back to Onslaught, their first albums, like Power from Hell and The Force, I think they're pretty heavy as well as they moved through, and I didn't see there was a great transition from them into the likes of Death,
Well, it's funny you should say that, because Power from Hell, of course, Onslaught were a punk band, and
right.
and you mentioned fucking hell, who else did you mention there? I was just listening.
Napalm Death.
Yeah, now see, Napalm were more about punk as well when they first came out. Like you said, Scum. We'll put it this way. I saw the original Napalm Death, and they were supporting DRI, and I think that was DRI's first time over here.
Right.
So that's it's kind of a bit. Holy Terror were on the bill as well. Fuck knows why. I've never figured that one out. Met John Peel that night as well. How fucking weird is that?
Well, he was right behind Napalm Death from the off there, wasn't he? He felt that there was something quite exciting going on there, but.
Yeah, he did. And funnily enough, you mentioned Carcass as well. Now, I think a lot of people will be listening to this if they are fans of Carcass. They'll be listening to this going, fuck off, Carcass were never death metal.
No.
Carcass
he
were...
sort of edged that way in, didn't he, when they hit Heartwork and stuff, were turning into a much more metal band then.
What do you think to Surgical Steel?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, yeah.
It's fucking awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that
goes back to the work, the sound that they probably had round Heartwork, maybe a bit heavier at the time, because a lot of Heartwork reminded me of Iron Maiden in a weird sort of way, but, obviously with a heavier edge. But going back to their early stuff where they were just raw, weren't they, at that time,
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I kind of missed the boat on Carcass. They were, it was like, Thrash was over by then, and we were all kind of like, that was on the way up, and Thrash was pretty much on the way down/dead. And it's funny as well, because I've been asked recently about, how do you feel about the fact that death metal killed thrash metal off? And I don't think that was the case at all.
No, I don't at all, no.
I think what you had was basically thrash had run its course, really.
Yeah.
And death metal didn't kill it off. It just thrash died, and death metal was emerging. I don't think they were linked. Do you know what I mean? I think thrash died on its own. It wasn't murdered.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, because death metal was on its way up, sort of late 80s anyway, early 90s. So there was some crossover there, wasn't there? Deicide were releasing albums at the same time as say Pantera released sort of Cowboys from Hell. So there was a small crossover. So I think you're right. I don't think they killed it, did it?
Not really, no. But it's an interesting question, like you said, that you posed initially about, is Rain in Blood a death metal album? I mean, I think we're both agreed, no fucking way. But I can't speak for you, but I can't. When I started thinking about it, and why I wanted to call you and talk about this was it was a good question, because you set me thinking about, why isn't it then?
Yeah. That was the other bit, isn't it? What makes death metal death metal? If it's the lyrics or something, then Slayer's got it in abundance, isn't it? If it's the growls, then that's a whole different thing. But it's I agree. So, Rain and Blood is a whopping thrash album. Yeah, borderline and on the punk side. So it's but yeah, sorry, go on.
No, not at all. No, I was letting you roll with that. You were you're doing a great job of hosting the show yourself there.
No, it's all right. I've run out now.
It's a really good question, because I think the components of death metal, what you've got to have there, it starts with, I was going to say it starts with the lyrics, but having said that, the new Misery Index album I've got, which some people would say is death metal, and I just tend to think of it more as thrash metal with blast beats.
Yeah.
Because there tends to be. So have you heard it, by the way? I know I've been going.
No, I actually haven't heard of them. So yeah.
Oh right, because you twat, you haven't been listening to the podcast then.
I must have missed that then.
Yeah, no, I'm pushing. I've been pushing Misery Index. Really, get a listen to the new album. It is just absolutely rocking. But to the extent that, like I said, some of it I feel is just thrash. With with blast beats. And because there's some quite sort of contemporary stuff on there, there's some contemporary lyrics, etc. But there's a shitload of blast beats and sort of Chuck Sculdiner kind of vocals as well.
Right. Are they marketed as a death band? Is that what they see themselves in?
Well, I don't think so. The Killing Gods, that's the album you need to get hold of, or at least
The Killing Gods.
Yeah, get a listen to it, see what you think. I'll be interested in carrying this conversation on. But anyway, according to Wikipedia, no less, right? Death metal is an extreme blah blah blah. Right, it typically employs heavily distorted and down-tuned guitars, played with techniques such as palm muting and tremolo picking, deep growling vocals and screams, aggressive powerful drumming featuring double kick or blast beat techniques, minor keys or an abrupt tempo, key and time signature changes, and chromatic chord progressions. The lyric themes of death metal may invoke slasher film stylized violence. Well, hey, motherly love, acid rain with fucking death metal. Yes.
There you go. Now you're a death metal band.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, fuck it. Yeah. Satanism, religion, occultism, Lovecraftian horror, nature. Mysticism, nature. I love that death metal songs about nature. The storm is coming. I better bring me fucking clothes in. They're gonna get blown away. So philosophy, science fiction, and politics.
So that's pretty much fucking everything then.
Hang on, they've just named everything that goes on in any kind of fucking metal. Fuck you, Wikipedia. Fuck you. And it says they describe. And they may describe acts including mutilation, dissection, torture, rape, cannibalism, and necrophilia. And it says here,
back to Slayer again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Venom, building from the musical structure of thrash metal and early black metal, death metal emerged in the mid-1980s. Bands such as Venom, Slayer, Celtic Frost, and Creator were important influences on the genre's creation. Possessed and Death, along with Obituary, Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, and Morbid Angel, are often considered the pioneers of the genre. I'm just thinking this is brilliant, isn't it? People are thinking, this will be an interesting feature. And what they get is me reading Wikipedia down the phone to someone. Fucking fascinating. But yeah, that sort of comes back. That's kind of sort of says what we were talking about there. That whilst, Venom, Slayer, Celtic Frost, and Creator, they're all, you wouldn't say any of them are death metal bands.
No.
But they've all kind of had an impact. And I would say, Possessed, Death, Obituary, Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, and Morbid Angel. It's a pretty good shout, really, isn't it?
Yeah, the last bit there seems pretty accurate, doesn't it? But thank God I never wrote that anyway and submitted that to Wikipedia.
Well, that's you've got the big four in thrash. That's the big six. The big six. Possessed, Death, Obituary, Deicide, Cannibal Corpse, and Morbid Angel. Yeah,
but Death are touring now as well, aren't they? Which is weird, but yeah.
No, Death are not touring. It is called it's called Death to All, and it's musicians doing a tribute, and all of the proceeds go to Chuck Sculdiner's foundation.
Right.
And they also show videos between songs of Chuck being interviewed and behind the scenes stuff, and there's pictures go up. The whole night is just a brilliant tribute. I saw it when it was here end of last year, about a year ago.
Great. I'll try and get to that then, yeah, because it came up on the phone the other day, and I thought, that's strange, yeah, so I hadn't looked into it so much, yeah.
Oh, no, it's really cool, because it's basically, I mean, when I went to see it, there was two members of Cynic who toured the Human album, I think, were part of the lineup. It was fucking great, and they played Spiritual Healing, and when that came through the fucking PA, it was just, dun 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 dun. Oh, fucking hell. And that double bass break there, it just absolutely rocked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can heartily recommend that, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, well, I'll be getting to that. Providing there's nothing that gets in the way, but I'll try and make sure nothing does.
Well, and by the way, are you aware? Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to come across like I've got loads of fucking knowledge now, like I always try to.
Go on.
The truth is, I've just fucking read it. Do you know who actually was the first to come up with the term death metal?
No.
Apparently, it was Possessed's first demo. Was called death metal.
Ah, right, okay, and that's it. And that's swept along.
Yeah, basically. Oh my god, the variety of get these subgenres: melodic death metal, technical death metal, doom death, doom. Then we go into gore grind, death grind, grindcore, deathcore, metalcore.
Nature core. Have we got nature metal?
No, we haven't got nature metal, unfortunately. But I tell you what, we have got death and roll.
Death and roll. Death
and roll, which combines death metal's growled vocals and distorted tuned guitars with elements of 70s hard rock and heavy metal. Who the fuck is death and roll? I'm gonna have to like put an all points bulletin out on the podcast to find out if anybody knows what a death and roll band is.
Deathabilly, it'll be something like that.
Deathabilly. I like quite like the idea of nature death. Actually, you've got me there. Well, look, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and yeah.
It's a pleasure. I think we've kind of we kind of got to where we're going there, slowly but surely, haven't we?
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, we could have kept going. For ages, but yeah. We bore the life out of everybody, so
that's it. It will just be a case of the two of us going on and then thinking, Jesus, why am I even recording this?
You might still think that when you listen to it back.
Oh, mate, I will not be listening back to it. Don't give me that kind of professional credit. I'll just top and tail it and stick it on the podcast.
But yeah, I'm glad the wife didn't come in and say tea's ready then.
No, that shit's brilliant. It's a shame she didn't. Have you got a dog? Can you get a dog to bark in the background? Because then
no, only the neighbours. No.
It's not a real fucking phone call, and it's not a real sort of broadcast over a phone unless there's a dog barking in the background somewhere. You got to have a dog barking in the background.
Usually ambulances and things go past actually here, so just saying that hasn't happened.
Well, that would have been extremely apt while we were talking about death metal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Somebody just banging ahead a bit too much to some nature core and getting taken away by ambulance.
Falling off a branch or something.
Yeah, fucking nature core. What a actually, hey, I've just realised.
You heard that first from me.
I've just realised what it is. Yeah, nature core. It's a branch of death metal, isn't it?
Oh.
And on that bombshell, it's been a pleasure, mate. Go and get your tea.
No worries. And you, Howard. Speak again soon.
See you later, mate.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye. And there you go. That was Paul Flynn. And I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, it's not necessarily a new feature, but you know, if anybody. If anyone feels like having a chat, you know, then look, you can get in touch with me if we hit it off, you know, we can have a date on the phone. But thanks a lot again for that, Paul. And he was messaging me after that saying like, oh God, you know, sorry I was so nervous. And I thought, I don't know about any of you listening, but I thought, you know, Paul did a really, really good job there. Held his end up. Taught me a few things, and it was you got a futuring podcasts, Paul, but don't fucking do one and go into competition with me, you ungrateful cunt. I'm joking, of course. Right, just to let you all know, I am now resplendent in my DRI shirt, and you know what? I feel so much fucking better for that. Did a little bit of editing there, and because yes, I do actually do some editing. This thing doesn't actually just throw itself together, although sometimes it might sound like that. But yeah, and fuck me, feeling great. It's so cool, isn't it, to have that new T-shirt feel when you first put that shirt on, and the print is still sort of like, you know, rough to touch, and it just smells like. It just smells of T-shirt print. Can you smell that? Can you smell that? Oh, it's lovely. I love it. Anyway, right. So I've got my shirt. What else do I want to have a talk to you about? Look, I know it's been done to death, and I know Lars has come out and said how great they are. So obviously that is, that's gospel. But U2 and your free album. Fuck you! Jesus Christ! I know there's people out there going, oh yeah, free music, what a bastard. Oh no, I don't want a free album. No, I don't actually. No, I don't want your fucking free album. Fuck you. I'm so glad it's backfired in such massive style. I mean, trust Apple, that pack of cunts. Please keep my podcast on iTunes. But trust Apple, that pack of cunts, to do something like this. Can you imagine? They're just a perfect band for Apple to partner with. Just a fucking pack of millionaire wankers. Oh, but Bono has done so much for charity and politics over the years. Yes, but you're still never seen without those annoying sunglasses, so he's a cunt. Just fuck you. I don't know about anyone else, but wherever you are in the world listening to this, there's a U2 advert paid for by Apple. And by the way, yeah, they gave away their album for free. That's so cool. No, they got paid millions to do that. So just fucking shove that whole free, aren't they benevolent, aren't they wonderful fucking attitude and ram it up your ass. If you're out there and you, I mean, I'm pretty much guessing that like 98% of people listening to this are going, yep, totally agree with you, Howard. You know, and actually that is a bit fucking, that's a bit of a sweeping generalisation, isn't it? Really, but if if you're in that 2% that don't agree, fuck you. That's by the way, that's how I win an argument. By having a podcast all of my own and swearing at people who disagree with me and have no right to reply. And if you guys decide you want to email me and ring you up, yeah, that's not going to make the show, because that's just going to be me ringing you up going, cunt, 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 cunt. But anyway, who knows, mate? Maybe we should do that. Maybe we should have that on the show. So, yeah, in summation, fuck you, U2, fuck you, Apple. And unfortunately, if you listen to the last podcast, you know I interviewed Corey Clark, which was great fun, and I was going to go down the show and hang out and see my mates Fuck Shuffle who were opening and see Warrior Soul and have a chat with Corey. I can't. I've got a comedy show booked that's just come in. So, I'm not going to be able to make it. So, sorry about that, Corey. If you're listening, he's not, is he? Let's be honest. Let's be serious. Shame. So, I'm going to message him and let him know, but bit of a bummer, really. Never mind. Next up, as some of you will know, I often mention the Metal Sucks podcast. Because the two motherfuckers on that show are two of my favourite motherfuckers in the Twitterverse, which is Godless and Chuck the bearded ape, and Godless, the godless one, as are we all. And basically those guys, very cool. They've promoted Talking Bollocks. Well, actually, they're the only ones who have, apart from you guys out there, and I love you for it, and thank you very much, because you keep spreading the word and it's amazing. But the only people who are actually out there genuinely just, publicising Talking Bollocks, apart from you zines out there and people who have done, and thank you all for doing that, are Metal Sucks, a fellow podcast, and it's really awesome that they do that. And they have this thing called a speak pipe, which is basically, this is what we'd do if it was a proper podcast. Well, it is, no, and the guys are All About the Rock who host this, and I can't believe I've left it so late in the show to say allabouttherock.co.uk. You need to get there. There's some fascinating stuff on there. Matt Denny, who organised the Mordred tour. Hey, see the fucking link there? Yeah, I fucked it up because I should have done this in a bit. But they've just taken... Matt Denny is now writing for All About the Rock, and writing very well and very cool stuff there. It's going to be some really interesting stuff about Slipknot coming up on there, so check that out. And get to allabouttherock.co.uk. But yeah, the Metal Sucks guys. There you go, Tangent fans. I think that might have been the first one. I'm not sure, but that's... there you go. I know you tune in for those, Tangent fans. So the guys at Metal Sucks have this speak pipe. So if you go on Metal Sucks and you go onto the page of the podcast, on each podcast there is this thing called a speak pipe at the bottom. Basically, you can just hit record, and if your laptop's got a mic, or you can plug a mic into it, or if you're on Android or fucking shitty Apple, you can even do it on your smartphone, and you can basically ask them a question on that, and it gets back to them, and they listen to them all and decide which ones to play on the show. And they very, very kindly played one of my questions, which was really, really cool. So if you want to hear what happened, then you can go to the episode of Metal Sucks. I should have planned this. I didn't actually plan this, that I was going to do so much plugging. But if you go to Metal Sucks, go to the podcast page, and it's the episode with. Let me just check. Right, it's the episode where they they do a feature on Pornhub. Believe it or not. Yes, that's right. It's episode 69. Oh, yeah, I get it now, guys. Fucking hell. Yeah, stupid me. Last on the bus as usual. So yeah, episode 69, you'll be able to hear me on. And thanks for having me on, guys. It was really cool, and I appreciate it. And I would say to all of you bollockers out there, definitely worth a listen to. If you want to hear a properly produced podcast with beautiful, rich tones done in a proper studio and all the rest of it, that's the one. If you want to listen to one that sounds like it's cobbled together in a fucking shed at the bottom of the garden, keep listening. Welcome. It's lovely having you along. It is, honestly, it is. I do appreciate it. Anyone shouted bollocks at a gig? Just a reminder, if nobody heard on the last episode, if you are into talking bollocks, if you are at a gig, any gig, doesn't matter if it's metal or Madonna, if you're at a gig, wait for a little, wait for some, where there's music not coming over the PA, or where there's just, there's a nice sort of dead spot in the night, and just shout bollocks. Just shout bollocks, right? If you hear that, you have to shout bollocks back. And if you hear that, you have to shout talking bollocks to complete the triumvirate. I would love to hear from any of you who have done that. That would be that'd just be awesome. That would make my fucking year to hear that that you guys have done that. That we've infected somebody else's gig. That'd be cool. And speaking of somebody else's gig, I was at the Fear Fest in Birmingham last Saturday, and I got to do 2 tunes with my good friends Suicide Watch, and also a tune with I nearly said the Dead Kennedys with Reanimator, and we did the Dead Kennedys tune, Too Drunk to Fuck. It was great fun. It was great fucking festival at the Asylum in Birmingham. Check it out. They've just announced Mordred. Mordred's coming up soon. I just created a band, Mordred Angel. How cool is that band, right? That is a thrash, death, funk band. I think that would have been fucking awesome, wouldn't it? Mordred Angel. That is a band. I want to see that band. I want to fucking see that band now. That is Dave Vincent. Go and join Mordred. Write some tunes. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? So anyway, they've got a Mordred. I've done it again. Shut up, you dick. Morbid Angel are playing there next year. I think it's March. Not sure. Again, didn't plan this, but it's just come to mind. I thought it'd be cool to do a plug for them. So yeah, Morbid Angel will be playing in Birmingham. They're doing one of their early albums, one of the good ones. Let's be honest. And yeah, so go and check that out if you're in the area next year. Yeah, just look for the Asylum. You'll find it, or the Fear Fest, and you'll find links through to all of that. So anyway, look, without further ado, I know why you tuned in and it wasn't listening to this motherfucker go on like a broken bust-ass record. For those of you who know what a record is. Look, guys, gig of the year so far for me, Mordred. For various reasons. First time I've actually got to see him. We played a lot of venues that were very similar, as you'll hear in the interview. We never actually got to play together, which we both kind of scratching our heads about, going, really, didn't we? But no, we didn't. So this is a really cool chat that took place on the day of the gig, which was very cool, organised by Matt Denny, who is now writing for All About the Rock, allabouttherock.co.uk. Get down there. So yeah, this is an interview with Scott and Arthur of Mordred, and took place on the day of the gig. It was very, very cool. It's a really nice chat. It's quite long. I think it comes in at just under an hour. So, hey, an hour off from this whinging cunt. Hey, who's complaining about that? No one. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, would you please welcome the wonderful Mordred. Right, okay. I'm here at the Islington Academy once again, and I'm joined by
Scott Holderby,
Arthur LeBlanc
from Mordred. Hi guys.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you very much.
It's been a little
great
while.
to be back.
It's been a little while. I mean, we were talking earlier, Scott, about years gone by, because our bands, I used to be in a band called Acid Rain, and we were always on the road, and you guys were always on the road, and I never got to catch you live. We never played together, and all the rest of it.
That's a shame. You know what? You guys should reform, and then in 2 years we'll
What would
come
it
back.
take to get you guys back together?
Wow, yeah, it's amazing. You've had those conversations as well. Yeah,
That's what got us over here. It was the question, what would it take to get you guys over here again?
And the answer's always the same thing, which is unfortunately money.
Yeah,
Because without that, nothing happens.
that's true.
Yeah, and I know you've done some crowdfunding as well.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we funded this whole trip, just with the crowdfunding and with the guarantees from the shows.
That's awesome.
We're
Yeah.
very proud of it too. I mean, we're just squeaking by, but I mean, the fact that we were able to do it without any sort of controls other than we controlled ourselves, and what the crowd was able to get together for us. We didn't have to rely on like weird side deals. If we do this, we'll do this for you. It's just all about everyone chipped in, and here we are.
It's great because it's a lot less of a business, isn't it?
It's absolutely not a
kind of-
business at all. It's a jobby.
Business must be done, but not in the traditional sense where back scratching needs to occur necessarily. Everyone that we have been working with so far is so cool, and they're very supportive, and we support them. It's been great.
And I kind of want to go back a little bit because obviously you're back, and it's great to have you back. But I was just wondering, given how the band, there's many years between
Now
the
and
last
then.
recording and I'm kind of because my attitude has changed a lot to people saying I'll reform, and originally it was like, oh fuck you, just let me get on with my life, and I've done stand up for 15 years and still people go, okay, when are you going to reform? Christ. And over the years you kind of your perspective changes, and sometimes you think, oh, that would be quite nice. And I don't know, it's...
Well, I could say one thing about that.
Yeah.
I have a son, and Jim also has a son, and they're best friends, and they're 10. And to see yourself through their eyes, and to have your son think that you're cool, and to love your band, and to be totally excited for your band, and he comes to our rehearsals, and it really made me a lot more excited to do it, and not that I wasn't excited anyway, but it certainly was a factor.
Right, yeah.
And also too, these guys are like my brothers, and even though we haven't been playing together on and off or whatever we did, we still all hang out together all the time.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
we always have. And,
Yeah.
That's amazing. So there was no kind of bitterness from the
That doesn't happen with
from the
Mordred.
split,
Mordred
or
doesn't.
No,
Mordred,
not really. No, I mean maybe there for like a minute when
That
it
happens to
first
any
happened.
family. It's the same thing as any
Yeah.
really close relationship with friends.
It's like, if you imagine like you and your brother, like your brother like gets into some sort of bad thing, and he
Don't touch my drum kit.
steals your
And he
favorite
touches
album
it.
and
Yeah.
sells it or something, and it's like that. But you eventually forgive and forget however
Yeah.
badly it was.
yeah.
It's forgotten.
Well, the thing is, we were all young as well back in the day. I mean,
And don't you feel when you're younger that you're just so important?
yeah,
And
yeah. Oh, the world's all about you.
Yeah, I mean, and as you I guess I hate to say the word mature, but as you do, you realize that
I still
maybe-
contain the same amount of testosterone, so that you're speaking for yourself in this case.
I too can.
Yeah, well,
Just joking.
well,
I have no testosterone left.
there was singers, testosterone, and the LSD, lead singer's disease.
What exactly is lead singer disease?
Thank you very much for asking me that.
Were you a lead singer?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's in some cases it's genuine. In some cases, the singer definitely sees the band as almost like their employees. Without me, the show doesn't happen. I'm the focal point, all the rest of it.
Oh, okay.
But I also think there's there's something that's genuine about being a singer that people think, it's like, for instance, having to rest your voice.
So if
Yeah.
you have to rest your voice and go somewhere and kind of think, look, the only way I can rest my voice is if there's not people around. Because if you're like me, if there's people around, I'll fucking talk to
That's
them.
the same way I am, and you
Yeah.
can probably hear the state of mind.
yeah. State of mind, like it. And the thing is that
I'm an artist, and my state of mind is such that I need to
Keep people away if you're forced
but
so that I might spellbind them later.
But if you do have to like save your voice, for instance, you have to put yourself in a room where there's not going to be anybody, or you're going to go and sit on the bus and be away from people. People naturally think,
Oh, I see. Driving.
yeah. So you're instant arsehole basically, and where in effect it's like, well, no, I just can't.
Unfortunately, I never can shut up, and I always will just go wherever, and I've never been able to sit backstage or on the bus or anything. I'm always in the mix.
That's weird. The weird thing is that's how I am on a basis, so I stay away. That's how I am, just in general. But seeing old friends on the road is great. So I know that I want to see a lot of people who I haven't seen for a long time, just to remind myself. But Scott is definitely way more out there than I am.
In many ways.
Yeah, and that's a compliment, I think, Scott.
Oh yeah,
definitely. When you were on Noise Records, weren't you?
Yeah.
North International.
Yeah, because there was just like horrendous stories about Noise Records.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird that you got picked up by a German label as an American band. I mean, did they pick you up as a licensing deal, or was it?
No,
direct?
they when we were pretty much ready to record our first record, they were also shopping around because the Bay Area had sort of a lot of groups and a sound, like the Bay Area sound.
Yeah.
And they wanted to have an act that was like that, but then they got Mordred.
There were other labels that we had been talking to, and it was right at the time, really, when it seemed as if there was a door closing. It was right around that time when they were picking up bands, thrash bands. Not every band got signed, or it took a while for Violence to really get out there.
Yeah.
And we were playing with those guys all the time, working great. And did they ever get signed? I think they did. Maybe.
I think they did. Yeah.
They didn't get picked up on like a. Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like the feeling for us was like that. There was no time. We were about to be. Whoever was going to grab on us was going to grab on us, and Noise had the first offer, and I think Metal Blade passed on us, or I don't know.
We were like Roadrunner Records.
It was a Roadrunner, yeah.
Yeah, and no, they didn't pass on us. They wanted us.
Oh well, look, you're in good company there. We got passed on.
Negotiation with them.
Yeah, we got passed on by everybody. Noise rang us up about a week before we were about to sign to the label that we were going to sign with. So that never happened. But it's kind of, again, you talk about labels and signing and getting out there. I mean, everything's changed. So
yeah, you don't even need a label anymore.
About.
And it's funny because Noise did a different deal for each of our records. First one was CBS, so we ended up on the Record and Tape Club. I don't know if you guys had that over here, but
no,
it's like you send away and you get like 10 free
Yeah,
records.
1 cent for 25.
I'm remembering it. I did that.
Yeah. And then they start sending you records, and if you don't like sign up for the thing or whatever, buy two by a certain amount. Anyway, that was our first record.
I'd completely forgotten about that.
I felt
I did that.
We're that old school.
Yeah.
Columbia House, it was called.
Yeah.
Columbia House Record and Tape.
But that was part of CBS.
Yeah.
Because they're
Owned by CBS.
So that one album on CBS.
And then BMG, and I think that the Vision was on BMG or Futurist. I can't remember. But when we were looking for our tapes, we call up BMG. Just looking for our tapes because I think they bought out Noise, their catalog.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're like, "Oh, dude, you're still signed to our label." We're like, "What?"
Fuck. No, really.
They're like, "Well, how much you want? What are you doing? We'll put it out for you."
They've been pretty cool.
They've been nice.
Wow.
Totally.
Fucking hell, that's
I think
amazing.
that labels now have less of a place to stand where you actually, especially in our position, we're not trying to get to some other level, and we don't need to be in any place. We just want to occasionally be able to come through and play for the people that appreciate what we do.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to
Right.
like, make some kind of a comeback.
We're not trying to make it.
Yeah. It's not.
Yeah.
That's not
Well, let's
where we're
face it,
at.
you can't. No.
Yeah. Well,
there is no it anymore unless you're banging out.
whether we could or whether we couldn't, that's really not what we're here for. We're purely here because we were invited here, and we thought, where else would we want to be other than here? I mean, there's other places, of course, that we would want to be as well. But we had so many memories and so many good friends and so many experiences here that, and also too, at a time when not everybody understood or appreciated what we were doing. I feel like people here really understood and got it.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I think the same thing happened with Faith No More.
I agree.
I mean, they were like a top 30 band over here and like meant nothing in the States, and it broke eventually.
No, I think that they got pretty big in the States.
Oh no, it happened. It did happen for them. I think there was one day, I remember reading an interview back in the day, and there was one day where The Real Thing sold more copies in one day than it had done in the previous 6 months, and that's because Epic broke on MTV.
Oh right.
But the point I'm kind of making a long journey of getting to was that do you think it's kind of like is that a kind of UK audience thing? Is that just being a little bit more open-minded, liking the quirky shit? And labels hear quirky and go, where's that? Which market is that?
I think that what happened, because especially during that period of time, everything was very segregated. Metal was metal, thrash metal was thrash metal. Whether the Hairspray kind of
glam
metal was around, but there wasn't much moving around between that. But where we come from, the land of skateboarding and all these things, we were exposed to many different styles of music, and because of this, we of course we loved metal and we loved all this other stuff, but we were able to keep it so that we were never bored with our sound. We just kept coming back with something that excited us.
A lot of our music also was a reflection of what we all liked outside of just one genre of music. We've been playing music for a long time, both individually and in the band, and we like experimenting. We were an experimental band.
Well, the thing is as well, you've got
experimental.
Nice. You're full of it.
I'm so full of it.
But
did he tell you he does stand up?
So the thing is that it's like metal is kind of like the foundation, isn't it? It's kind of like the thing that brings everyone together.
Every building needs a foundation.
Where there is a thrash pit, it could be punk, it could be metal.
But then you bring all of your different
metal side.
But then you bring all of your different influences.
But we did come out of punk rock too. I mean, we were very into punk rock before I got into metal. That's really what I was really into. Punk rock.
Me too.
I know. I got into metal and then punk kind of very quickly after.
I was really upset earlier because I found out Sham 69, Angelic Upstarts, and the Cockney Rejects are playing within the next couple of months here.
Yeah.
We're gonna miss them.
Yeah, and it's original '77 lineup.
Sham.
See, this is the kind of stuff that we were in. Like, I don't know if you listened to Fool's Game, which was like 1989. We put it out.
Yeah.
I was there, 19.
Yeah.
Rocking, man. Yeah. I had that exact sweatshirt on many a photo shoot.
You did?
Yeah, I should have brought a picture. You'd never recognised me, but you'd recognise the shirt. Well, that's what we did back in the day, wasn't it? That was our cross marketing. It's like I like this band. I want more people to get into them because they're not as big as they should be. It's kind of
the nice thing though about. I mean, not to say that it wouldn't have been nice to be bigger, I guess.
Sustain a lifestyle. Yeah.
But because we were at the level that we were at, we were free to make whatever music we wanted. Nobody told us how we should sound. Nobody told us how we should look. Nobody really interfered too much. So we were able to have a lot more freedom. And freedom of expression, really, truly. And I think because of that, that's what's made it so that we feel still like we can play these older songs and we still feel like they're fun to play.
I think people are appreciating just exactly what you're saying also is that freedom is becoming an issue. Personal freedom is still an issue as it was then too. But now it's really becoming an issue.
And the things we talked about in our lyrics and in our songs back then, people weren't really hip to it so much at that time, but it's come full circle, and now it's like it's more in the.
So you see yourself more as a prophet.
Okay.
Do you know what? I was having a conversation a couple of days ago, and when you were talking, it reminded me of it. It's like you were saying about like the freedom you had, and people didn't fuck with what you were doing. You didn't have to look a certain way and everything.
Yeah.
And we were the same. And I genuinely think it's because we had a label round us, we had a management round us, who basically were like, well, you seem to know what you're doing.
Yeah, we have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, so you just do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll do what we know how to do, which is package it and just put it in the shops, because apparently the shit that you're doing.
That's it, and they just feel like they had no. They were like, well, people seem to like it, so we're just going to go with what you.
Yeah, exactly.
And there were a couple of things that the label did. We had a different cover for the first record, and they just took it and made it more evil looking.
Right.
But actually, we saw
a good move. I like
but we saw the picture and we were like, well, that's actually pretty cool. So the one or two things, that they did,
Yeah, just checking. Yeah.
the one or two things that the label jumped in and did actually turned out to be okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
That's cool.
they might have had a few suggestions that we just ignored and stuff over the years, but.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, they gave us the freedom to kind of express what we wanted to, which was important because, you know, I was about the same age as you, because in '89 I was also 19.
Right.
And, you know, as a young man, you've got all these feelings inside and all this you know, feeling of, you know, this is what I want to do and it's important that I do this and, you know, all this stuff. And it was nice that we were just kind of able to do our thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a period of my life that I look back on with great fondness, and you know, who knows, may come again. But you know.
Oh, I'm smelling a reunion, I think.
But you know, it's kind of strange because you know you do look back on those times and think it's like the world has changed so much.
Very much.
You know, the internet, etc.
Yes, this whole handheld mobile slave device right here.
Yeah. That we're all checking apparently on average 70 times a day. You know, the average person checks their phone 70 times a day.
I must be below average.
Yeah. That's something you want to be below average. Either that or you don't have roaming over here. So you
know, I do. I only took my phone so I could text my family when I'm away.
Yeah, cool. Let them know you're all in one piece and how the shows are going.
And I got to text my son's first day of school today. He's like, "Yay, Daddy!"
Daddy's away on tour with his
and
fucking kick-ass band.
He's totally into it. Yeah,
he's got to be enjoying going to school. It's like, what's your dad doing today?
Why isn't Dad?
Oh, you know, he's down the lumberyard. Really? You want to hear where my dad is? That's going to be pretty cool.
Like I said, having him made it for me just more. I got a little nostalgic in a way.
Yeah.
And for even the first album, we did it, and then when we did more recordings and stuff, we had to, of course, put the newer songs in the set, and we dropped a lot of the older ones. Well, on this particular tour, we're bringing back more of the older ones just because I'm feeling it. And I really am enjoying the feeling, and it's like, you know how it doesn't have to be your own band even, but you can hear something that brings you back to that place, and that feeling that you had.
Soundtrack to our lives.
And it may be even like, you know, I'm married now, I'm totally happy, but when I sing the songs about that heartache and that feeling of pain and being left behind and this and that, you still feel it a little bit, and it's like you remember you're alive.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm just so thankful that we actually had no idea that anyone even remembered who we were. We have been going about our lives just thinking, you know, I mean, not really even thinking about it. You know, if we ever got together to play, it's just because we want to get together and play.
Yeah.
Never any kind of a notion.
Because you did, didn't you? A few years
we did a few times.
Like 2001, something like that.
I think that was before the interweb was so.
2001? No,
yeah.
there was still interweb.
No, there was interweb, but it wasn't like as prevalent. There wasn't
like
there
everyone didn't have it.
It was the time when MySpace was the way to promote your band doing it yourself. MySpace still existed as the thing that was new before Facebook really broke.
I went to MySpace the other day. It's like a fucking haunted house.
I know.
You know,
It's all
my log on works.
they're
I was like, ooh, what's in here?
I know, they don't want you to ever leave. They send me a message every once in a while. Somebody sent me a message on MySpace. I'm like, do I have an account on MySpace?
Yeah, and also
I wouldn't even know how to get into it.
Yeah, the only reply to that message is, dude, what the fuck are you doing here? You want to get hold of me?
No, I like vintage things. I mean, I rock a G3 for my Pro Tools. I'm working on 5.1
Right,
with
so
OS 9.1, and it's like, it's basically vintage these days. That's how I roll.
But you used the N word, nostalgia.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like talking about the age thing again. For me, there's been a surge in people saying, oh, we want to see you again. And there's definitely something about that 40-year mark that life begins at 40. But there's definitely something about that where people go, do you know what? All this stuff that I used to love, and then I went through a period of completely ignoring. And then I kind of really wasn't bothered about it for years. All of a sudden, is like really important.
I really want to hear it again.
Because I want that time of my life. I want to kind of remember it.
Also, there's no version of what you did then probably that exists now.
Certainly not on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of it was a real period in time because you guys were treading all sorts of genres because you were kind of like. You could play with thrash bands.
Yeah, but we played with Run DMC. We played with.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Oh yeah, we did a little tour, like a small tour with those guys, and we're all riding our skateboards. Their kids are tiny. We're teaching them how to ride, and we had a Jam Master Jay.
Yeah.
Was really fucking cool guy.
It's such a shame.
Yeah, but at the same time, we could also go out with Exodus and DRI, and we grew up in the area where all these guys are from.
Yeah.
And they're Exodus guys, for instance. We just ran into them the other night at the studio, and they're a couple years older than us, but I've always been supportive of what we did.
I toured with them back in the day.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
UK tour.
We did a couple of little things with them, the
Great guys.
Metallica guys also have been because a lot of bands during that period really just bit a specific part of a sound of a band. Metallica, unfortunately, was one of the bands that they really bit on back in those days. And Lars has just been like, thank you for doing something that is totally your own thing.
Yeah.
I was watching some movie, some Metallica movie, and hanging out with some guys younger than myself, and they're like, didn't you know these guys? I'm like, yeah, kind of. Some of them better than others, but yeah, I mean, definitely Kurt and whatever. And then right then, when they're asking me this, Lars is on, and he's got a Mordred t-shirt on.
Oh my god!
And one of the guys is like, does that say Mordred? And I was just all, yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
These kids were born in '76. Kids, right? Kids.
Yeah. Born in '76. Now, one song. Will you be playing The Strain tonight?
Why, yes, we will.
Oh, fucking awesome! Right. Well, that's my night then. Because we were just talking earlier, saying in this life was sort of a peak musically, but Vision is still fucking kicks your ass.
Well, I
A
love.
lot of people love Vision. We've been finding out more and more stuff about how much people love particular songs off that EP. Just on
Yeah, we had no idea.
bands.
Yeah.
We had no idea that West County Hospital was a huge thing to a lot of people, and so we may readjust.
But I
our sets.
appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I mean, no, but again, the thing is, this is like one of the drawbacks of back in the day. You put out something like an EP, and you're between a single and you're between an album, and some people pick it up and some people don't, and some people stock it and some people don't, and you end up with kind of whereas now.
Yeah, it's like you buy
Anyone can
one
get
song.
Yeah.
if
For
you're
us,
lucky.
though, and everything we release, each record has been so different from one to the other. Even the smaller collection of songs of Vision, to me anyway, personally, it was taking more variety of experimental way further than.
Oh, it's the next step.
Yeah, it was another
Yeah, because
step.
In This Life was the next step to Paul's game, but coming back to what you were saying earlier as well about playing all the tunes, because of course when it's the time, it's like, you know, when you just put your second album out, you just want to play stuff from that.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a grind having to play anything off your first album, and you always want to play your latest stuff because that's the stuff you're most proud of, that you've been working on.
Yeah.
You want to play to people.
That's true. Yeah.
But then when you come full circle now, it's kind of like, right.
Yeah, you
know.
really can just take everything for its own value and how it makes you feel. And that's kind of how we pick the songs for this particular tour.
Right.
Is that we just wanted to see like what we were feeling. Because if you don't feel it, you're faking it, right?
Yeah.
So you really have to feel what you're doing. And if we're not feeling it, we're just not going to be doing it.
Yeah. So have you got a pool of songs that you pick from each night, or are you doing roughly the same?
No,
set?
because our music is pretty precise and precision, and it requires quite a lot of rehearsing. We had to. We threw some out and put some new ones in and changed it around a bit, but for the most part, we put together a set and we're kind of sticking to it. We sort of have to because of just the amount of time we had to get ready and rehearse and
with one guitarist on the other side of the country, it was difficult to get it really as precise as we'd like. So we'd have to practice the majority of the band, and then he'd have to come in and learn those songs the way that the majority sort of learned them.
Yeah. And that's something that's quite prevalent as well. It's like bands geographically now can be so challenged.
Yeah.
And just getting a rehearsal together is a mission in itself.
Well, luckily for us, all of us are pretty much local, and he's the only one that's moved across the country.
Right. So you're still all Bay Area.
Yeah, and Jim's son and my son are best friends. They spend the night at each other's house every weekend, and mostly my house, but.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you were saying about that. This is not the big comeback, and
Well, it's funny because
or do you just want to roll the dice and see what happens?
Well, no. What's happened is like people have put sort of at sort of their expectation on what they think that we're trying to do.
Didn't they always? Yeah.
Well, I know.
Some things never change.
I guess that's always been the case, but in this particular case, and it's not that we don't appreciate that people want to help us to try and get back there. It's just that we're looking at it from the perspective of just we want to make ourselves available to play for and to hang out with and sort of like reunite with our friends from over here. And because without it felt really, really good to come over here.
The last two shows we
play.
played, it is unbelievable what type of influence we've had on people, and they let us know after the show, like they would say, they keep using this word, you understand that you guys have a legacy, right? And me and Joe were discussing this.
And we're like, what do they mean by that?
Yeah, we just thought, we were playing shows and they were kids and they would like to thrash and we were thinking that was new to them. These guys are like coming out of the woodwork, traveling miles, like in Belfast and Dublin, really, really waiting. They had been waiting for 20 years, saying stuff like that to us.
Yeah.
To see us live again.
And then to hear stories from, back in the day, for instance, in Dublin, there was two fellas and they were like, dude, do you remember us? I was 14, he was 13. You snuck us in the side door and let us watch your sound check. And we kept looking around going like, why aren't the bouncers kicking us out? Well, I had told the bouncers they were my nephews. And in Ireland, they don't fuck around with family. It's like, it's, it's all good. So they would just be like kind of cringing. And then afterwards they said, oh dude, you were like jumping your skateboard over the amps and doing all this stuff. And I was like, yep. But now they're all grown up and
they've got kids.
Yeah. But just to hear the way that we interacted with people back in the day and to hear it, like I had just about everybody at that first show and many from the second show I had some sort of personal encounter with, and whether we went to takeaway or we went and had a beer or we did this or that, and that's because we were never one of those bands that just sort of hung out in the backstage. And we're from like we were saying about punk rock. Well, punk rock is anti-rock star. And we grew up, we wear the clothes that we wear all day when we get on the stage. And we don't think we're better than anybody. we are exactly the same as the people who are there to see us, and then any other night when it's another band, we are the people seeing them.
Absolutely.
And so having that kind of attitude, we were open and free to basically live. And a lot of times we wouldn't have showers and stuff, or good food to eat or whatnot. So
this is
I would
always
be hanging out with people, in the line waiting to get in, and I'd be like, hey, you live around here? You have a shower? And so many times, because we were young back then. Even though we were like 19, you're still kind of a kid.
Yeah.
So you end up going with these other kids your own age or just under you, and they take you around to mom's place, and mom cooks up a nice meal. And it's like, oh, darling, let's get you a shower. And so, being that we actually interacted in such a way, I think that built more of this sort of real relationship between the people, because it's like, to say the word fans is a little strange to us, because we mostly it's mostly our friends.
Well, that is
in some places we have 110 friends, and some places it might be 300 friends. But
well, everything you've said there completely and totally parallels how my band were as well. We were very much the same. It's like, we got together because we loved thrash metal.
Yes.
So we played the music that we loved, and when we weren't playing it, we'd go and see other bands. So we'd be in the crowd, and we saw it as a kind of opportunity. It's like it's a privilege for a start.
Yes.
And it's an opportunity to get. And the last thing you want to do is be that dick band who somebody meets and goes, oh yeah, they were cunts.
Yeah, and it's funny because I hear other people talking about these kind of but there's certain ones, maybe not from the Bay Area, but there's other bands that
I'm certainly not referring to the Bay Area. No, I just mean in general, you hear these stories from kids who go, and you go like, oh,
A lot of the other bands from our area were also, we used to go to Ruthie's Inn, which was the same place. One night it'd be punk rock, one night it'd be metal, one night it'd be something else, and we'd all go to all the shows.
Thrash.
Yes, it just had to be,
If you're in the pit, you build a rapport with the people in the pit.
It used to be called the Slam Circle before the pit, and that sort of adapted itself because of the crossover with punk rock and metal.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then when they started calling it moshing, it was over.
Do you remember when it was called the Huntington Beach Strut?
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The
Let's keep it
sex
local.
record has a picture of how to thrash. Really, it's really before it was called
Slam dancing.
Slam dancing.
Yes.
Yeah. Jeez.
And see, that's what we were like looking up to as youngsters, and so the 70s punk stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, we're a little young to have seen that in the 70s, but in the early 80s, we were old enough, and we that's what we were really influenced by. And I think that a lot is a huge influence on how we just interact with people. Because we don't feel we're better than anybody else, and that's something we got out of that whole scene.
Absolutely.
It's also kind of reflected in the attitude that we have toward presenting our music as well. If you don't have any rules that keep you in a box, you can experiment with different kinds of music.
Yeah.
Just like we had.
Yeah. And I mean, the one thing that kind of set you guys apart was you had a DJ in the band.
Yeah.
That was kind of like because
we were actually
the
first in the world to have that. But we didn't
thrash within the thrash genres.
Yeah. Have you ever
rock music?
Have you ever been?
We were before Urban Dance Squad.
Run DMC Aerosmith? That was the first time I ever seen a rock in.
Right, but the band wasn't actually playing. So they were just sampling Aerosmith with the two dudes.
So, have you ever been accused of inspiring Limp Bizkit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not by them.
No, not by them. I think that, it was ready to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And we just happened to do it first. You know, and I think maybe possibly what's a dude from Detroit, Kid Rock?
Mm-hmm.
He might have seen us in Detroit, maybe not. I don't even know. I really couldn't say, but I wouldn't take responsibility or say that we did because they may have never even heard of us. We weren't really we were kind of an underground thing. And that's how we liked it. We could have done things and taken different steps to put us in a different place, but we preferred to keep real and keep true to what we were trying to do. And that comes from being rooted from where we're from and from what we were into growing up and everything.
Having been in Mordred since day one, I will say this: Mordred has always been experimental, whether you're aware of the first version of Mordred or not, or the third version of Mordred. There was Mordred in the beginning that was doing stuff that...
In the beginning, there was Mordred.
There was Mordred 1, and it was different than Mordred that was known. And the one that was known is the one that everybody knows about. And there was another Mordred after that. So people don't really... I mean, the way I picture it is that Mordred is always experimental. It doesn't stop with a DJ. It doesn't stop at hip-hop or based metal. It's thrash music, mostly. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't.
Yeah. Well, the thing is well, you were saying like there's things you could have done that made it slightly. What I always found was it was always ideas from the management. Management would always be looking for the next. Why don't you use this big name producer to remix the album instead of that mix? No, we like that mix. We're going to use that mix. And it's like, well, why don't you just speak to the producer? Just speak to the guy. We're thinking, okay, so you speak to him. So the first thing he says, well, firstly, I'd replace all of the drums with samples. Don't like the drum sounds. Like, who the fuck is this guy? You know, screw you, buddy. We'll just go about our day, and that's what keeps you. I think that's what I have a very similar kind of attitude that you do towards your legacy. Which is really fucking comfortable with it. Really good because it's ours. It's not someone else's. You don't look back at it and go, "How the fuck did we let that guy screw that up for us?" No, that doesn't happen, and that creates bitterness and
resentment.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of ill feelings.
Yeah,
and I would totally agree with what you said there, my friend. I feel like we're actually on the same page about all this whole thing right here.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from
because we're both singers.
Yeah, that's it. You got the.
I guess you're lucky you can hang out with us singers, buddy.
I'm feeling very lucky. I'm sitting on a goddamn guitar case here.
No, I'm just kidding. I hang out with Arthur all the time. Actually, we spend quite a lot of time hanging out.
Right, not the other guys. We can talk about them, don't we?
Oh yeah. No,
the guitarist.
Oh please.
Well, I don't like anybody that fucking tall. Can't handle that at all. Not at all. But there has to be, when you can look back and know that that your career was what it was, but you
can be proud of it.
Yeah, you can be proud of that.
Now, there's things I would change. Like at the time that we recorded our second record, I knew nothing about mixing. I knew nothing about studio engineering, and there were some things that I never would have let go by. Like mixing wise and mastering wise, just the sound of it, I would have added more bass, for instance, and just done some things a little differently. So it's a little difficult to sometimes listen back to the In This Life record for me because of the way it was mixed.
It was a kind of strange mix. So speaking as a fan, having said that, like the Fool's Game is a kind of more straight ahead record,
absolutely,
with some.
With some added features
in there, and then In This Life, it was like
took it over the top. Of that.
And then
that was when full integration of DJ Paul's role in the band became more integral to the sound of the music. Fool's Game, a lot of that material was written in the first version of Mordred, which is more traditional thrash metal. And we had a couple songs where we called him in for it, and then when he actually joined the band. In This Life was, this whole different thing that I think any producer would be challenged to figure out how to really mix it, how to get it to happening. We can look back now and say, well, it's, we could do this, we could do that, but at the time there wasn't anything to really compare it to, or
there was no reference.
There was no reference within thrash or any other kind of music where a DJ is integrated and you still want people to thrash.
Because you can get two producers. One will say, well, you want to kind of like bury that a bit in the mix, and another will be saying, well, that wants to be at the front of the mix. Like, well,
we didn't want pause to just, we didn't want the DJ sound to be just some small part or gimmick.
A novelty.
You need to be fully integrated into everything.
Yeah. It's a great record. I mean, you listen back to it now. I mean, I know exactly how you feel about listening to a production and thinking, but it still sounds great. I mean, it still sounds like and then Vision came.
See, I like the way Vision sounds sonically
Yeah.
a lot better than the way it was mixed, and that's a lot because my brother-in-law did it. And he was on the In This Life record too, but his role was such that he couldn't really speak up and sort of make it the way we wanted it because there was somebody else that was more sort of in charge of that.
Right.
He was kind of assisting in that. But once we got to Vision, he was a lot more on the forefront of the sound.
He saw what was happening, and he was,
He was able to kind of like make us sound how we wanted to.
It took for me. It took the best bits of This Life. It took the best of Fool's Game, and it kind of then updated the sound. And there was. It felt like everything wasn't fighting so much.
Right.
Everything had a place in a mix. And it was kind of like you seem to lose a little bit of momentum after that.
Well, what we didn't realize is that by putting out a 6-song EP, that it wasn't considered like good enough to tour. So we came over and did one tour with this EP, and everyone's like, "Go home and come back when you have a real record."
Yeah.
And we're like,
sorry about
all
that.
right, well,
the UK
okay.
apologises. I will apologise on their behalf.
So what happened was I just never came back till now.
Yeah. Wow. So you really took the hump.
Well, someone tells me that, I'm just kidding.
Well, as we were saying earlier, it just kind of falls between two stools. It's not an album, it's not a single, and you do kind of, back then it was very much kind of you have a single that comes off the album.
Yes.
Or you put the single out, then the album comes out, and if you do an EP, then that's between albums.
Yeah, well, we were planning on doing another record, and the material on Vision was, in my opinion, I really loved it. It was good. I could really dig it. Once we got back and started writing for the next thing after that, that's when it just started becoming something that I couldn't really get behind. I couldn't. As a singer, you're the voice of the band. You're the connection between the audience and the band and what you're trying to say. And if you don't believe it, how the fuck is anyone else going to believe what you're saying?
Yeah.
So once it gets to that point, it's like you have to choose: am I going to go forward and fake it, or am I going to stay true to myself as I've always done? So in true Scotty form.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And you guys carried on with a different singer.
We did.
Yeah.
It was hard to find too. We couldn't find a singer the way I always thought it was, we can't just replace Scott with a guy who's going to try and sound like Scott. Just as it was in the beginning when we had to replace Steve Skates. Band had been 5 years old. We were established. Our demo was getting all over the world, being mailed out just in the tape trade community. I'm not sure how many of your fans even are aware of that version, but we are selling a disc that has that early version of Mordred too.
Scott is leaving us for a cigarette here.
Fine, you can come in.
I'm sorry, there's no smoking in here, and I need to warm up my voice.
So, in that... Thank you.
No worries, feel free to come back, we'll probably still be here.
Yeah. So, back to what I was saying, you can buy a demo from the earliest Mordred stuff to the demo that led us to being signed on Noise Records. If you're coming to see the show, that disc is available right by the t-shirts.
Yes, I have a copy in my bag.
Have you listened
already?
to it?
A copy of the demos. No, I've just.
Or you were the earlier version of Mordred?
The CD is selling tonight. No, I've never heard it.
You never heard the Steve Skates version of Mordred?
No.
It's more traditional thrash, and that's really the root of what we had when we started to form the Fool's Game record.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Fool's Game record, when we got Scott.
Yeah.
like I was saying, there's no way to just replace the singer with a guy who could sound like Steve Skates or be like Steve Skates. But we did find a guy named Scott who came in and made what we had his own.
Right.
And that's what was important to us. He made this thing that already existed and he knew about and he liked it, and then he made it his own in a way that made sense to us.
Yeah.
And that's how we went from what we were to the next thing. Now in the third phase, again, when we lost the singer, in this case it was when we lost Scott, we had to find a guy who could do the same thing, and that's what we did with Paul Kimball.
Right. And is he still involved in music at all? Or?
Paul Kimball?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't talked to that guy for a long time. He's a really good guy, and like I said, with the material that we had that we were working on, he made it his own, and it was honest. It was from an honest place, just like it is when Scott is with us.
Yeah. Did you tour that?
No.
That next record?
No, that was the end of Mordred. At that point, Noise Records, I don't know what was going on with them as a company that much, but they pulled our tour support, and so we couldn't really sustain. If we can't tour the record, we can't.
Well, if you've got no tour support, it means no tour.
Yeah, and that was before we could actually crowdfund, so.
Yeah, The World Wide Web wasn't even an idea yet.
No, well, it was. It was out. Yeah, that was in '94.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
I remember cruising the web in '92. I was at the beginning of that too.
Cool, man. Well, look, you just mentioned the demos there, and I've got a copy. Would you mind if I put a song on the podcast?
Not at all.
From the demos.
Sure.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome because I always try and play at least one song.
Might I suggest the song Mordred?
The song Mordred.
Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely. Yeah.
You might want to check out the lyrics too. We were in high school when we formed the band. We were young kids, and we were absolutely obsessed with medieval ideas and the way persecution occurred to people who were, say, different from what the king wanted you to be. For example, if you were, somebody who practiced black arts or paganism, and you weren't going to follow along with the Holy Roman Empire or whatever, you'd probably be an outcast. So this early version of Mordred is about that. It's kind of about being an outcast, because that's how you are when you're a teenager too.
Exactly. I'm the black
I
sheep
love
of
that stuff. I really have a really big appreciation for that stuff now, and seeing my bros with their kids, and seeing the new crowds and how much they love, in some cases, like in power metal and all this, and all the black metal stuff, they seem to like the occultic stuff, and so do I.
Oh, that's interesting. So, you're kind of like a traditional metal guy.
Sort of. But I also, love. I've been a musician since age 6.
Right.
So
is
like
that what you do when you're not in Mordred then?
Hmm?
Are you still playing when you're not in Mordred? When Mordred's resting, are you still playing?
Am I an active musician other than in Mordred? Not really. No.
Right. And speaking of which, you guys are making music again, new music.
Yeah. There's stuff coming down the pipeline that is going to be, as far as I can tell, experimental.
Of course. Of course. And is this going to be on BMG? Are you still signed?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right.
I'm not sure though. I mean, we haven't really talked with them about anything serious. We've talked to them about doing something, but I'm not sure what material is going where.
Right. Okay. How much material do you have right now?
It's hard to say. There's a lot of bits and pieces. There's, there's seeds for new material that could be, grouped in a whole other group. I mean, there's you got 6 people in a band, and they all have material that is not, fully formed, and you can't really say how many songs are releasing a song. We have released a song called "The Baroness."
Yeah.
Which was written in 2007-ish or 2001-ish, and that's a new song that is. I'm not sure if it's available now. Have you heard that song?
I haven't. No.
Oh, okay, we'll hear it tonight.
Oh, cool.
If it's not available now, it will be soon, as a digital download or on a CD, possibly.
It must be great to have new music to put out. I mean, that's exciting.
Because
there's nothing more exciting than creating
Yeah, mostly been spending our time getting our old sound to be the way we need it to sound to us in order for the audience to not say what a bunch of kooks who they don't sound like they used to. I would say if you're looking for that, you won't be disappointed in that we're going to bring you 1992 again. But yeah, that's really been our main focus. The next phase after we're done with this tour is to really focus on compiling, arranging, and that type of stuff. So getting new material together for everyone.
Awesome, man. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm really looking forward to the show tonight.
All right.
And thank you very much for your time. And it's been just awesome. Man.
All right. We'll have fun with your podcast. Everyone thrash forever until you're 80 at least. All right. Goodbye.
And there you go. How's about that for an exclusive Mordred by Mordred. Available only on the CD they were selling on the tour. Matt Denny made sure I got a copy of that, which was very kind. Thank you very much, Matt. And what a cool chat. What a lovely bunch of guys. What an awesome show afterwards. Still rocking it and rocking it hard. And they played The Strain, and it was fucking tight. It was awesome. Or as you would say if you were in Slipknot, it was crushing. But yeah, it was just brilliant. I loved it, and it was, and a really, really, like I said, really nice bunch of guys. Really loved to talk to them, and it was really strange. It really did feel like we'd almost met before. We had so much in common, and funnily enough, as we found out later on, we had friends in common as well. As people turned up to the gig who I didn't know were turning up, and they knew Mordred, and I knew them, and it was like it was really weird, but it was great. It was lovely. It really was being transported back in time. Funnily enough, when I first got there, I was told that Scott wasn't doing interviews; he was trying to save his voice. And he came up. We got introduced, and he was told, this is how it used to be in Acid Rain. And he went, Acid Rain, I know that name. So we, and he was like, oh yeah, do you want a cigarette? So we went out and had a cigarette outside, and we just got chatting away. And I mean, it would have been awesome to get that on the podcast because it was really cool. He goes, look, do you want to do this interview? I was like, yeah, why not? Okay, right, let's do it then. So and then we picked up Arthur on the way through and ended up having a really nice, a really good time. I'm hopefully they'll be back over here. Definitely check out the new stuff. The Baroness is cool. There's going to be more to come, I hope, and there's going to be more dates over here, I really hope. But more importantly, just a lovely, really nice guys, really solid bunch of human beings. It's nice to have them back. It really is. And how about that as an exclusive for you all out there in your ears? Mordred by Mordred. No one else is playing that. This is a fucking exclusive right here on Talking Bollocks. So there you go. It is worth listening after all. Hey, who would have thought? We're winding down now. There is more music to come. There is one final song, so don't disappear on me yet. But this is a shout out on behalf of Fuck Shovel. They are supporting Warrior Soul, but they are borrowing a bass player and drummer. So yeah, basically, their bass player and drummer have left. So if you are out there, you may have heard them. If you haven't heard them, if you're fairly new to Talking Bollocks, if you live around the London area or the South East, go back into previous Talking. Actually, don't go back to podcasts to listen to the music. Go and fucking go on YouTube, whatever. Hang on. Achoo! Oh. Yes, it is warts and all on this fucking episode. I think that's still kicking around from last month's podcast. There was plenty of coughing last month. Well, there you go. There's an achievement. 10, 11 podcasts in. That's the first live sneeze on the show. Like anyone gives a shit, he'd probably really prefer I didn't do that, didn't you? But anyway, sorry about that. Yet more proof that this really is scarily unedited and raw. So anyway, yes, I am. I'm going to play some more. I'm going to play some more music before we get to the end. But where was I? Sorry, tangent fans. The sneeze through me. Fuck Shovel need a bass player and a drummer. Go and listen to Fuck Shovel if you're interested, and you should be because they're a mega cool band. Go and listen. Just get in touch with them. You get in touch with them on Facebook. You can get in touch with me. I'll get in touch with them. Whatever, they're on Twitter. But they've got some exciting things planned, and it sucks losing a bass player and drummer. It really does. But if you can help them out, please do. So. At this part of the show, just before I play the final song, I always do it, I always will do it, and that is thank you to every single one of you out there, okay? And I can't believe I didn't say this at the beginning of the podcast, but pin back your lug holes, okay? 10,000 subscribers strong. We are a fucking phenomenon. This is unbelievable. This really is. This is a community. Fuck it, I'm getting a bit tearful now. I'm welling up. 10,000 of you motherfuckers out there. That is so cool, and that is all down to you and the other people who've pushed us as well. Thank you very much. But seriously, it's mainly down to you guys just passing on the word and telling each other about it, because that's what metal's all about. You find something cool, you want to tell other people about it, and I cannot believe that one of those cool things is this podcast that you guys have found and that you seem to be coming to in your droves. I really, really, really mean it. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of my bollocks, from the bottom of my newly repaired groin, my hernialus. That's not even a word, you see? I'm making up words now. This is what you get with this show. Fucking hernialus. How's that? That is hernialus. Hernialus. Hey, and Mordred Angel, check that shit out. You've got to check out their new album. Anyway, look, seriously, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really do genuinely mean this. It's heartfelt. It really is. I'm no different to you guys. I was listening to podcasts like you're listening to this a year ago. If you're out there and you think that sounds like fun and you want it, do it, man. I mean, if you want any advice, don't fucking ask me. You've heard the state of this. But seriously, do it. Go for it. And I'll plug you and I'll put your links up everywhere. And let's get loads of these podcasts out there. But seriously, guys, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me. I can't tell you. I really can't. Well, I can actually, and I just have. So there you go. And they seem to be getting longer as well. But look. Some really exciting stuff coming up before the end of the year. Like I said, there's going to be a December edition, which is my Christmas present to you guys, which is going to be so fucking cool. I genuinely don't know what's coming up next month, but it will be cool, guaranteed. So anyway, winding down now. Friends of the show, Scimitar. That's it. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Ryan. I know you're listening. Just to let you know, well, they've got some mates called Acid Age, and Acid Age got in touch. Hi, Jude McElwain, main guy there I've been talking to, and they are a mental band from Dublin. There's some serious fucking. I think we could do a hardcore. Sorry, not Dublin, Belfast. What the fuck am I? Oh, there you go. Just restart the Troubles all on your fucking own, confusing Belfast with Dublin. Ooh, what a fucking idiot! I am so sorry. And especially if there is any card-carrying members of the IRA out there. Apologies, especially to you. I don't need a punishment beating this week. Thank you. Seriously, fucking hell, that is such a fuck up. If you're not familiar with, well, you should be, and if you're not, you're fucking ignorant. So anyway, I cannot believe I've done that. Some serious fucking tunes in the hardcore and shit coming out of Belfast in Northern Ireland, and this is some more of it. So this is how we're signing off. Check these guys out. They're on Facebook. You'll find them on the website, on YouTube. Just go fucking looking for them. And this is Acid Age from Belfast, and Acid Age. They've got an acid in their name. They've got to get played. So thank you very much. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for listening. It's been awesome. Tune in every week, tell your mates, shout bollocks at gigs, shout bollocks back, shout talking bollocks, check out Metal Sucks podcast, check out fucking everything. Oh, and funnily enough, this month, I haven't actually, have I? I haven't let you in on any new music. To be honest, been listening to New Exodus, you were all going to check that out anyway, weren't you? Something that's coming up very soon, and there's going to be something coming up on this podcast soon, which is Censor, Senser, Censor. Their album Stacked Up from back in the day is fucking awesome. It is awesome. It's like Rage Against the Machine meets Limp Bizkit. Yeah, I know what I'm saying there. This shit is good. Okay, and it's different to what those two bands together would be sounded like, but I've got to try and give you some sort of reference points that you'd be able to get. So anyway, Censor, that's coming up. Stacked Up, fucking great album, remastered with extra tracks, that's coming. I'm listening to that like fuck. Listening to Exodus, still listening to Misery Index, gone back to their previous album, Heirs to Thievery, which rocks as well. New Slipknot, can't say too much about that. I will talk to you about that next month. So not too much new music from that point of view, but some bang up new music coming your way from Belfast. Okay, let's not fuck that up again. From Belfast, Acid Age, and this is 50,000 Robot Archers.
kill me. Arrows tipped with lasers, robots on the lighter. Today we're going to die. Humans can't rely on machines of torture. 50,000 robots turning drunk like fuck.